Hello there, guys. So today is talking about closing high value sales. Whatever that might mean to you in particular, but ones where there's usually many stages, many people involved in the whole process, basically. So it's a quick 20-minute chat on how to close more of the sales, assuming you're getting the leads in. How can you get more money out of the leads that you already have, basically? So this is something that I really, really believe in. So having a sales process that actually adds value really is the single biggest competitive advantage that you can have. What do I mean by that? Instead of actually focusing necessarily on the features and benefits of the product, it's more actually about the way you sell it. A really good example, which is quite widely thrown around, would be, say, for example, your local burger joint compared with McDonald's. What McDonald's has over your local burger joint, it may well be that your local burger joint actually makes a nicer burger than McDonald's. And to be fair, that might not actually be that difficult a thing to do. but what McDonald's has that the local burger joint doesn't have is just a sales process that just gets burgers through the tills and customers on their merry way. Happy customers as well, because they know that they know what they were expecting and they've got what they were expecting, and that's all that's needed. So having a sales process that actually adds value is the single biggest competitive advantage that you can have. So a little bit about us. So we help SMEs and ethical companies to scale their business through digital marketing and commission-only sales. Basically, we run digital marketing campaigns to generate interest so that we can provide them with a sales team on a commission-only basis. The whole idea is about, as well as generating an interest in a way that the end customer actually cares about. So it's about doing something in a way, that's actually marketing in a way that's very valuable to the end customer, but also actually about getting the results as well. So there's a couple of ways that we help clients do this. Either we have sales campaigns themselves where we actually go out of the way to secure the deal, or if we generate leads for clients, we provide like mentoring and support to help them close the sale. Point being is that what we do is that it's all about the results. So this is something that we actually ourselves within our team, we make sure that everybody's there that we're doing, and we make sure we're selling in the right way. But also when we actually help our clients follow up sales, we make sure that we help them, that they're actually getting the conversation going in the direction that you would want it to, basically. Basically that's us over. Let's talk about the webinar. So it'll be about 20 minutes long. I'm going to talk about the mistakes that many salespeople do make, which hurts your bottom line. By being relevant is better than just automatically discounting your prices or adding extra features. Finding out what your clients' needs are and selling in a way that meets your client's sales process needs. I've just read that, and that's a really wordy bit of saying, isn't it? Well, there we go. It's a Friday evening, so yeah, we're going to be a bit more jokey on this one. So the biggest mistake that salespeople make, like in a nutshell, I mean, everyone's had this where a salespeople just sort of kind of blabs on, just telling the customer everything about the company, and you just have to kind of sit there and you have to be like polite about it, and you have to just sit there. You're like, great, cool, so when are you going to answer my question, kind of thing. And a lot of which is irrelevant, and that's the issue. Is that the customer gets bored, basically. The customer starts thinking about. Starts worrying about how they're trapped in this conversation with this really enthusiastic salesperson, but the salesperson's really nice. So, they don't want to offend the salesperson. They're just like, oh God, I've got other stuff I need to do. But the fact that the customer is thinking about that, it means that the customer is getting bored, and I don't know, you're not relevant. And it's a bit of a shame, really, because you probably lose the sale. I mean, at the end of the day, customers are humans. We all have limited attention spans, and if somebody's going to give you some of their attention, then that's an amazing thing. Attention is, especially when information is so widely available these days, everything can get done so quickly, and we have so much being bombarded at us. Attention is like the new commodity. And if a customer has actually said, okay, I will give you some of my time, that's a big deal. And so it's about making best use of that. The most relevant quote wins. Yeah, so this is basically, you might have seen from some of our blogs and that I say this phrase quite a lot. The most relevant quote wins, and that is literally it. It's the idea is that it's not about it's not just about high value, it's not just about low price, anything like that. It's about how you kind of meet their collective needs. And actually, this is something, because of course, with all the campaigns we do, as well as actually running, kind of having the sources of leads recorded, we also actually record the reasons why customers say yes and why customers say no. And we kind of did a bit of an analysis of this a while back, and it was quite interesting because it showed that it wasn't actually just about, it wasn't because our clients were losing quotes on price. And similarly, it's not because they had really basic products. It was actually, it was actually about how well suited their clients were to their needs collectively. So kind of how you fit in with their situation. I'll give you an example. We were speaking to a building suppliers recently, and they were saying about how they really like to get in with the site managers, because they're on site, when you're building a huge block of flats or something, everything needs to be there on time, and it has to be on time because otherwise everything else gets held up. So site managers don't care so much about price, because they just need it in there, and they need the guarantee that somebody's going to turn up and actually have the materials or the people ready to go. So in the context of a site manager, price is less of an issue. Of course, price always is a factor, but it's more about speed of delivery. If you went in with price if you were selling to a site manager, then you're probably not going to get anywhere. So that's the idea about the whole point of making sure that what you're saying is actually relevant. So what is it that usually makes a customer say yes to you over someone else? Is it the cheapest price? Is it the features you provide? Is it your brand image? The short answer is it's not one thing. It is everything that kind of collectively fits into their situation. And all of the factors are still there. Features, service, price, they're all still there. It's just that maybe at that particular time, there's an emphasis on different ones, basically. So with so many different things that you could say to make them say yes, how do you know what to talk about? Basically, what you need to do is that you need to make sure that you go the extra mile to find out what the client's looking for and show them how you're a better fit on things like features, on things like service, on your communication, on your functionality, and yes, your price as well. It may not be the biggest factor, but it is going to be a factor, as it is. Everybody's got a budget. So how do you make sure that your sales team do this? Well, with a little structure to the sales process, it's really easy to make sure that you do this consistently. And if you're able to consistently show customers why you're a really good fit for them, by taking the time to figure it out, and then also actually having a structure by which you can actually show them, then you're going to close more sales, basically. That's it. You're going to close more sales. So yeah, basically, this is the sales process that we use in-house. And whenever we're doing the lead generation, we train clients to use. I mean, basically, it's about helping the customer see that your company ticks all the right boxes for them. So initially, the whole idea is that you find out what they need, and you use your sales and your marketing. You use that to find out really key bits of information, so that your sales team know what know what they need to talk about, because they've already got some context to it. And then also making sure that your sales team, through what they're saying and also through their proposal, really makes it obvious how you meet those needs. Because clearly anything that they have found out, the reasons why they're looking now, is a big deal. So, make it easy for them to see why you're awesome, basically. and then make sure that you help the customer figure everything out by being super, super helpful. So helping them see that you are the best fit, and structuring the conversation in such a way that you get the answer sooner than later. You sort of help expedite this answer. So finding out, basically, you've got an inquiry or booked a meeting. Do you know what your customer wants yet? You might know a bit, basically. You might know a bit, but there's so much that you can explore. And if you don't find out what's important to them before you start pitching them, basically you run the risk of boring them. To put it lightly, you run the risk of being really, really boring and saying things that they just don't care about, basically. So a really good way to find out key information beforehand, you and your sales and marketing team, it's a really simple thing. Basically, you guys, you get together, or maybe you just do this via email. You draft a list of all the key information that you know influences sales based on your experience. So this could be things like, why are they inquiring now? Is there a problem that's occurred, or is there a particular timescale? Is that the reason why they're doing this? What have they done about that problem before they spoke to you? So have they looked at other options? Have they had a go at their existing supplier? Or is this just a price comparison kind of thing? Do they actually fully intend to stay with their existing supplier, but because of the rules, they've got to get 3 quotes or something like that? And actually, based on that problem, what are they looking for in their next supplier? So, going back to the site manager thing, is it the actual delivery time is the biggie? Is that the main thing? And then also, yes, what's their budget? And equally, how motivated are they by price? How flexible are they? And you can just start to get an idea of, like, in the neighborhood, are we just completely worlds apart, or are we actually on a similar sort of page? So once you've got that list, next you sort of generate some ideas about how your sales and marketing team can find out this information. So, for example, marketers, could they set up different funnels that focus on different customer pain points? So, for example, if you know that some customers have a particular problem with service, and that's why they usually change, or some customers have problems with quality, is there a way that you can set up essentially 2 marketing funnels that bring the customers through on those pain points? Because if somebody comes through on service, then you have a better idea of the emphasis that you need to make, as opposed to quality, when you need to make a different emphasis. Can you have a qualifying form when inquiring? Maybe a few questions about why they're looking now, what's important to them, that sort of thing. And this is a bit wordy, so I'll just phrase it. The whole idea is that, and this is totally possible, can you have different areas of your site based on how you solve different pain points? So maybe different categories of blogs, categories of blogs about quality, categories of blogs about service. And then, thanks to the magic of IP tracking, can you track where your prospects look before they inquire? So, for example, if a prospect is looking on how you deliver really quickly or really consistently before they inquire, then you can start to get an insight into why, why they're inquiring right now. And then similarly, how can your sales team do this as well? So, for example, if an inquiry drops in the box, can the sales team, or can you have somebody that phones leads before you book the appointment to run through the questions, basically? So, how many, how big's the current contract? Have you been looking at other people? When are you looking to review? What, in your opinion, how flexible are you on price? That kind of stuff. Just ask, the worst they'll do is they'll just say no. You can just ask those questions. Failing that, if somebody's too busy, you can start to get some of the information either via web chat or email. So it's not the end of the world if you can't get that information right away. Or similarly, maybe you can do it in the context of a friendly confirmation call from the salesperson, just checking in, looking forward to meeting you. Just as a question, so I can make sure that I'm super relevant to you on the day, can I ask a couple of questions? That's quite helpful. And then when you're at the meeting, recap the points as well. This is really important as well. So you've gone to the trouble of finding out this information, but when they're at the meeting, you then have their time to talk further. So actually recap the points and ask them to clarify, ask further qualification about, what was the problem with the existing suppliers? Did they find out why they failed to deliver, for example? Find out. Match needs. See, I'm clever here. You can see the match. It's very clever. So now you know what your prospect is looking for. And let's assume that you've had a blinder of a sales meeting. Now it's time to put it in writing. I really, really hope you guys have a really nice proposal, basically, because there are just so many. There are just so many out there, and I'm sure you've seen them. They're just the most boring things in the world. It's just the most irrelevant stuff. We've been in business for 25 years, blah, 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 committed to excellence, and it might all be true. And that's the problem. It might all be true, but it's so hard to read. You're actually making it hard for the customer to know what you're trying to say. So scannable brilliance, that's what we call it. The idea is that somebody can just read it, regardless of if they're only going to spend a minute looking at your proposal, that you want them to just get what you're saying. That's the idea. You want them to immediately just get the gist of what you're saying. And especially, you might have been so charming at the sales meeting. You might have been the most charming person ever, but especially with the higher value sales, there's probably more than one person involved in the whole process, and there's probably more than one stage involved in the buying process. So you need to make sure that your charm and your persuasiveness can be shared around, and that's what the proposal does. And again, this is where a lot of companies fall down with really naff proposals that are as thick as Lord of the Rings and just as hard to follow. So make sure that what you're saying is they can just immediately get. So this is an order. What we do on all of our proposals for us and our clients' campaigns, this is what we do to make them punchy. So you found out their needs and how you meet those needs. Have a visually really easy to get table of this is what you want and this is how we do it. This is what you want. You're looking for more productivity by doing this, and this is how we do it. We will give you more productivity because of X, Y, Z. Just lay it out for them. Lay out why you are relevant to them. Next, give the price. So why you're relevant, then you give the price. It's also good to give some kind of time-limited pricing options. The idea is that it's something that could potentially move something forward quicker if everything does tick the right boxes. And again, this is what you want. You want to get sales in within a particular time scale, not just sales. You want to get sales within a certain time scale. And then after those two things, you then put everything else. Okay, so what they need, how you match the needs, give the price, and then everything else. Because there are some sort of different schools of thought on where you should put the price. Some people say you should put it right at the front, and some people say, no, we should put it right at the bottom. But we used some systems to sort of track where people were looking when they were looking at proposals. And we found that if you had like a 10-page proposal and you put the price at the bottom, people would look at the first page or two and then scroll right to the bottom to get to the price, which is obviously not, you don't want that. You want them to read it. You want them to read the things that are relevant to them. So the whole idea is, the whole idea is that you want to make sure that they see the price, they see why you're relevant, and then if they want to read more, they can read more. And also we do get questions on the time limiting of price because it's the oldest trick in the book, isn't it? This sofa has been discounted by 90%, but only if you buy today. Because sofas are always on sale, aren't they? The idea behind the time limit of the price, it doesn't necessarily it could be a completely valid thing, and it depends how sort of stringently you want to enforce it. But it gives another reason to follow up. Which is what you want when you're being helpful. You want reasons to follow up and be super helpful to them. So you've taken the time to figure out what they want. You've had a great chat with a blinder or a proposal. What do you do next? The next job is to make it as easy as possible to show your prospect why you are the best fit for their company. So especially with higher value sales, there seems to be a few sort of key stages that you have to go through. So first off, do they like the proposal and what you're suggesting? Are there any changes that needed to be made? Is the contact happy with the price? Are you actually going to be changing or tweaking it? Does the other people, the powers that be, area manager, finance, CEO, also like what we have to offer? Are we happy to go ahead in principle? Have they given notice, payment terms, agreement? And then making sure that they're super comfortable with this whole process as well. All of these, we call them mini yeses because basically each stage you need to get a yes on all of these different stages or other stages, because all of those little yeses make up the big yes, which is them actually giving you the $100,000 contract or whatever. So you got to get like a mini yes. Yes, they like the proposal. Yes, 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 yes. Big yes. That's the idea. So just as a side point, you may have more or less stages, but just this is quite general. And pretty much you as the salesperson, it's your job to make sure the proposal goes through all of those stages without incident, which isn't a very easy thing to do. The cool thing is, with a little persistence and being creative in what the next step is, creativity is important. Not a lot of people realize about how creative salespeople are, but trying to figure out problems and solutions to maybe resistance and things like that. It can be a creative job. So it's about using that to get them through the processes, basically. And now a really important thing that I want to make a point of is about how useful you are when you follow up. So frequently, the actual decision maker you're speaking to won't actually know that much about the ins and outs of your product. So, for example, if you're selling an IT system, you're probably speaking to the finance director. You're probably also speaking to the IT decision maker, but maybe the person who actually signs off on price doesn't actually really know that much about the product itself. What's more, they might not actually care that much either. It's about basically what you're dealing with is somebody who literally all they know of you and all they know of the actual solution is the other people's recommendation within the company and the proposal you've sent. That's like it. So it's your job to make sure that you make it as easy as possible for them to just get that you are the best fit for them. So how do you do that? The idea is that you are always useful when you're following up. Those stages that we talked about, you get them through the stages. So and say, for example, if like operationally maybe there are some problems at that stage, and so you might need to change the proposal, then help them figure out. Because there's nothing more off-putting than a salesperson that's literally just phoning up and just being like, "Can you sign it yet?" You know who I mean, those salespeople who aren't helping anyone sort anything out. They're just phoning up to see if they can basically collect their commission, because there's a million of them around and you aren't one of them. And the idea is that you need to follow up whilst adding value. And whilst you're doing that, whilst you're being super helpful to help them work out all of the internal problems that will help them come to a decision, what you're also doing is that you are ingraining yourself into how that company operates, basically. So you're getting to know right people, you're getting to know their processes, and you're helping them to figure it out. You're becoming integral to how that company works. And you can do that by making it really, really easy to see how useful you are by helping them figure out how good a fit you are for them. So, the idea that you always follow up by asking them questions that surround the mini yeses that they need to do. So, for example, I'm double checking that this is in the right budget for you. You mentioned that the current suppliers don't do Y as often as you like. I've included that. Did you notice? You mentioned about regular performing of X. I put that in. Is that okay? The idea is that you want to make sure that each stage they are super happy with it so that you can move to the next stage. That's the idea. So, final bit is about holding to timescales. Because you are such a super helpful, lovely person, you want to help them figure out how good a fit you are for their company. So a really good structure for this is figuring out what's needed next. You can work this out, with a little bit of empathy, you can figure out what's needed next, who would be involved in that process, what's already in place, or what actions have been agreed to find out, and when will this be done by? So, for example, and I can tell you this. So it's the so of course with one of the sales campaigns that we did this month, I'm still involved actually quite a lot in that particular one. So this one we have 8 quotes, which next week. So this is a Friday evening. Next week we're actually expecting to hear back. One of which is a guy who he really likes what we're up to, but there are 3 decision makers within the company, and he said that he talked to them this week. So I phoned him a bit earlier today, and I said, "Hey, just checking. Are you still? Did you get a chance to chat to them? Because I'd love to answer their questions." And he said that he hadn't, but he's going to chat to them on Monday, and so we've agreed a scheduled call on Tuesday, so that I can answer their questions. That's the idea. I'm just thinking there's another guy as well who he's really happy to go ahead with this particular campaign. He's happy to go ahead, but there's some really important information that he really needs to know that he's actually finding out over the weekend. So I said that I'd be on standby to actually help him find that out, so that next week we can we have a clear idea of timescales. But the idea is that what we're doing is that we're ingraining ourselves into how they operate by being really helpful and helping them figure it out. So an important part of being of value is having a reason to follow up in the first place. If you don't have a reason to follow up, then you run the risk of looking like you're just chasing a sale. And much like those examples, the idea is that I was following up for genuine reasons. I was following up for genuine reasons for that was genuinely helpful. But that's the idea. You need to figure out those reasons to make sure that the sale moves in the right direction. So here's a good framework for it. If you say, "Hi there, James, you wanted me to catch up today because when we last spoke on this date, you said you'd have spoken to such and such person about such and such problem. How's that going? Anything I can help with? What's happening next? When will that be done by?" That is the idea. That's the whole idea. You're helping them figure out what to do next. And finally, the whole idea is to get an answer out of them. Because what we're talking about here is that, especially with higher value sales, they can take a couple of months. They can take even longer. They can take a year, 18 months to actually figure out. So, of course, we're not going hounding people for answers. Each part of the contact might be, a couple of weeks in between each other. But the idea is that if you do it in the right way, if you're receptive to their situation and you genuinely help them figure things out, then not only will you get the sale, but you will be praised for how proactive you were. You'll be praised for following up. And, basically selecting you as their company would just seem like the natural choice because this is the point. You want it to be, because you've helped them figure out that you clearly are the most relevant to them, that it's a natural conclusion that you're the best person for the job. The idea is that you want to help them systematically answer all of those questions, all of those mini yeses that they have about you and your company, so that a big yes, is a natural conclusion. I suppose a final point about this as well, because of course what you're doing is that you are saying all of this. You are saying all of this sort of key information sort of verbally about, how, can I help you with this? How's about this? Let's figure this out. But if you just think about the subtext for a second as well, if you have a sales guy who's gone that extra mile about how, to help you out of their way, to help you figure out whether or not you're actually a good fit. And, it's fine if you're not, but they helped you figure it out, basically. What are you also communicating? You're communicating professionalism, proactiveness, just a really helpful person to be around, somebody that they can trust. Why wouldn't you? And it's all of these extra reasons. The fact that they can actually trust you to do this job is the thing that's going to make the difference. So that's the real difference maker. So I hope that was helpful. By the way, just to let you know, we do we help clients with sales and marketing processes all the time. So if you are looking for a bit of help in this particular area, if you use this link here, calendly.com/Owen-Wood/meeting, it's my Calendly, believe it or not. I'm more than happy to help you figure out what's needed next and how you can create a sales process that's super, super valuable for everybody involved, basically. I hope that was useful. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.